Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Chop Shop. Trey Wingo here with Mark Schlereth. We made it, Stink. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it, but we made it through the regular season, 17 weeks in the books. They didn't have to cancel a single game. And I know people are going to say, well, they moved all this stuff around, and there was a Denver game that you called without a quarterback, and we had the Saints game you had this past weekend with no running backs, but they made it work. And I think that's something that I don't think a lot of people thought was going to happen when this launched in September.
It was, let me just say that it was perfect in its imperfection.
Yeah.
And I, for one, as a football guy, and I love football, I get calls from my father up in Alaska, and he gets calls from his friends up in Alaska and around the country. And they're just thankful that football went down. They're thankful that they had a release. They had something to do on the weekends. They had something to look forward to. They got to play fantasy football. So I think it was important. I think it's, I personally feel like it's important for our country. And like I said, it was perfect in its imperfection. And I'm really proud of the NFL for getting it done. I know it wasn't always pretty, but I'm glad they got it done.
And it was a bonus, the first season ever where we had a game on every day of the week. So if nothing else, that was the gift that the COVID NFL season gave us. Okay, so I think we have to start today's recap with the last game of the regular season, which has gone bananas. Talking about the Washington football team beating Philadelphia to win the NFC East, but doing so, they put in a quarterback who probably had no business being in the game, which would be Nate Sudfeld. Now, for backup, we need to make sure everybody understands Carson Wentz was inactive for this game. He wasn't going to see the field no matter what. Obviously, I don't know how you feel about it. To me, that was part of a management decision. Let's not get him hurt, and then we're on the cuff for all this contract, right? That had to be a part of this.
Sure, absolutely. You don't want to you want the opportunity to trade that guy, to move that guy, to do whatever you're going to do with that guy. You don't want the temptation of putting him in the game. Somebody gets hurt, he's not going in. We'll finish a game like Denver played an entire game without a quarterback, for crying out loud. But that guy is not going to go in. If we can move him any way, shape, or form and save ourselves a little bit of money, that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay, so that's the thing that I think some people are forgetting in this conversation. Carson Wentz was not available. So it was Jalen Hurts or Nate Sudfeld. And Jalen Hurts didn't play very well. I think he was 7 of 20, and he had a couple of running scores, but he was not moving the ball down the field at all. So they decided to make a change at a very strange time late in that contest, and in came Nate Sudfeld. And Doug Peterson, I think, got into trouble because of this statement after the game. He said, I wanted to get Nate some reps, and at the same time, yes, I was playing to win the game. Can those two things be true?
You can want to get a guy some reps, not in that situation. Like, I understand if there's a blowout going on and your team just rolls over, but that was a 14-17 game in the fourth quarter. Like, you can't just go, okay, it's Nate Sudfeld time. I wanted to get him some reps to see what he was all about. Oh, I've been around him since 2017, but let me just see what he's like. That, to me, again, very much like the Carson Wentz decision, that feels to me like an organizational decision. And so a couple of years ago in Denver, Gary Kubiak, I believe it was his last year, 2016, they had drafted Paxton Lynch, and the organization had basically put out a statement, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play Paxton Lynch in this last and final game against the Raiders. And Gary Kubiak, being the head coach, you know what he said? Up yours, pound sand. He agreed to it during the week, and then as the game rolled on, Trevor Siemian took every single freaking rep. And it was a giant up yours to the organization. I don't operate that way. I'm the head coach. I make the football on the field decisions. So for Doug Peterson, one, if you don't have the nuts, pardon me, but if you don't have the nuts to tell the organization, that's not your choice. I'm the head coach. I'm trying to coach to win this. Like, how does anybody in your organization that's out there playing, risking injury, doing all the things that Jason Kelce, we saw the Jason Kelce video, right? Talking about we're here to win games. How does anybody respect that decision if you cower to the organization? Say, oh, you guys want me to play Sudfeld, or you guys want to make this move, or we want to decide what we're doing as an organization and we'd like to get a better draft position. I've never, ever one time heard an organization that I was involved in talk about let's not play hard, or let's lose games, or let's whatever. just to improve our draft position when 50% of the guys can't. 50% of the guys you draft in the first round aren't worth a squirt of piss, Trey. So, I don't understand. I'm flummoxed by that decision.
So there's two things there. Do you believe that was organizational tanking aided by the coach?
I think it was the organization saying this is what we're doing, and the coach not having the onions to say up yours.
Okay, so that leads us to another question, right? Because I think I can't disagree with you, but I think everything happens in perspective and context, right? Nothing happens in a vacuum. If that was a 1 o'clock game on Sunday and not the Sunday night game where a division was on the line, would this be half the story it is right now?
Are they like, if it was a 1 o'clock game and it was going on at the same time the Dallas Giants game was going on? So yeah, it certainly wouldn't have been a bigger story, but it was for the division. Like, and Giants fans are all, I mean, they're
can I just jump in there? Like, any Giants fan that's pissed, win 7 games. Like, win that many games, okay? Right. And then you have a chance. Like, we're not even saying get to 500.
Right. By the way, what were the Giants? 6-10?
Yeah.
And 2 of your wins came against Washington, the team that beat you for the division crown. Shut up, Giant fan.
Shut up. I have no. I'm not here for any of this. Oh, the Giants saying that Washington did them wrong. You didn't handle your own business. That's your own fault. That's why you want to control, quote unquote, your own destiny. But to what you just said, as a player in that organization, how do you feel now? If that is in fact the case, what you said is true. How do you feel about Doug Peterson as your head coach?
I'd be disgusted with it. I'd be disgusted with Doug. I'd be upset with the decision. Like, if I'm out, like, seriously, if I am out there and my career, man, I played hurt my whole career, right?
Right.
I sacrificed my health and well-being for my team, for my coaches. And you make a move like that as an organization, shame on you. That's all I have to say. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Doug Peterson really thought that was going to be the best opportunity to win a football game. But I know Jalen Hurts didn't throw the ball well, but I did see him scramble around and score a couple of touchdowns. And he has given them an opportunity to win a couple of games. And they did knock off the Saints with Jalen Hurts after the Saints went on like an 8 or 9 game winning streak. I mean, he has had some success. So I would think that was the best opportunity to actually win a game. And I would just be disgusted with the organization.
All right. So obviously Carson Wentz feels he's pretty disgusted with the organization. He's requesting a trade, would not speak to the media today, which I thought was stupid. I mean, dude, if you want to do it, do it. I mean, for God's sakes, John Elway, who we'll get to a little bit later, didn't want to play for Baltimore. Eli Manning didn't want to play for then San Diego. So, I mean, if that's what you want, just say it. But what you just said about Jalen Hurts, I think, is interesting, right? Because now I think they're so ready to move on from Carson because he had a terrible season and they see something in Jalen Hurts. But it's such a small sample size. I mean, the idea that you've seen enough from Jalen Hurts to think we definitively from moving on from Carson Wentz because he had a bad season, I think is also a flawed strategy by the organization. You don't know enough about Jalen Hurts to make that decision, right? And you have the situation with what you're paying Carson and what you're not paying Jalen Hurts. These 2 quarterbacks can coexist on a team. I don't understand why they feel the need, or Carson feels the need. Well, that's a separate issue. I don't understand why the organization feels like, well, we got to get rid of Carson now. You don't. You can financially make this work until you know one way or the other what you have in both of these guys.
Wouldn't you know more about Jalen Hurts if you let him finish that game?
Yep.
What if you finish that game and you come back and you win it? What if you put a touchdown drive together? What if you scramble around and make some plays? Jalen Hurts still has one of my favorite memories and one of the reasons I love one of the reasons I love football, not college football, but in that national championship game when he was 25-2 as a starter with Alabama, and he had just a wretched first half. You remember the game. Tua Tagovailoa comes in, drives him down in the first drive in the second half, I believe it was, throws a touchdown pass. You know who's sprinting down the field celebrating that touchdown like it was his own? Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
You show me any other walk of life where guys will celebrate somebody else's success like it's their own, especially a guy in Jalen Hurts that knows he's never playing there again.
Right.
My career is over at Alabama. And to not be pouting on the sideline and acting like a bitch, and to run down and celebrate that, that's what I don't know how skilled he is as a quarterback yet. I think that's, the jury's still out. But I know one thing. I want him on my team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Carson thing is really disappointing to me because when it was working for him, it was working for him. But, what do we talk about with leadership? Okay. It's the old stupid line from Caddyshack. It's easy to grin when the ship has come in and the man's got the stock market beat. But the man worth his while is the man who can smile when his pants are too tight in the seat. Right now, the pants are too tight in the seat for Carson Wentz. I don't really like the way he's handling this situation.
I don't either. I think it's very disappointing to me. Every day when I played for the Broncos, I'd come in, I'd grab a cup of coffee. As I started, I was always the first guy in the facility because I had to do 2 hours of rehab before I studied film and do all that stuff. And so I always walk in about 5 a.m. straight up. And every day I poured a cup of coffee and I read this plaque that hangs in the training room. And the plaque is an anonymous quote. And it says, "You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him."
Right.
You pouting, you not supporting the guy that took your job. And it's not like it was his decision to take your job. You played your way out of that job.
Correct.
And you pouting and acting like a baby it's not how it's supposed to work. Hey, man, I've been benched before. It's the most humiliating thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. Yeah. I mean, it's humiliating. You know what? I'm still part of the team, and I still have to do what's best for the team. It's about it's not about you pouting. It's not about you acting like a petulant child. It's about you supporting your team and helping them get a win. And it didn't look that way to me.
No, it didn't. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, obviously. But again, for me, if I'm the Eagles, I'm in no rush to move on from this because, one, the contract numbers will kill you if you try and cut Carson Wentz because nobody's going to pick up that contract. They're going to want him. They're going to want him at a discounted price after this past season. But to me, I'm curious to see if they can find a way to make this work because I still believe that's a rehab project in the offseason. We've said that a couple of times. Okay, a couple other big things that came away from Week 17. Incentive clauses were enormous. Russell Wilson made sure David Moore got a pass, so he reaches 100K. I think Tom Brady threw 3 shovel passes to Antonio Brown, so he made an incentive clause. How aware are players on what's on the line in terms of financial rewards Week 17 and what they need to get?
Oh, 100%. They know their contracts inside and out. They know exactly what they need. And it's interesting. Some organizations are completely on board. They want their guys to get those incentives. They want their guys to get paid. And then there are some that are cheap. So I called the New Orleans game, as you know, and they played, they took Ty Montgomery, a former running back who had been cut a couple times, and he had moved full-time to slot receiver.
Correct.
And I thought it was fascinating for me. Like, I'm calling this game, right? And I'm all excited about Ty Montgomery, and I'm getting people from Carolina, that are mad at me because I'm excited about Ty Montgomery and what he's doing, right? And you're being biased. You're being a biased broadcaster. Yeah, I like good football. You're right. I am biased. And by the way, Ty Montgomery on Friday afternoon when he left practice was a slot receiver. On Saturday morning, he was a running back. He did a half-hour walkthrough on protections, got on a plane, and flew out to play you guys. And he still put 105 yards rushing up on 18 carries. You do your job. Stop the damn guy. But here's the great thing. Emmanuel Sanders I wasn't even aware. He had an incentive. He needed 8 catches in that game, 8 catches to get $500,000. And so I'm sitting having a conversation, a Zoom meeting with Sean Payton. And Sean just brings it up. Oh, by the way, Emmanuel needs 8 catches for $500,000. He goes, he's getting 8 catches. I guarantee it. You guys watch. I guarantee he's getting his 8. And as soon as he made that 8 catch, he dipped the ball over his hand and he gets up. He goes, money, But that's one of the.
But that speaks to culture. But that speaks to culture, right?
Amen. 100%. Like Sean Payton is aware of it. He understood it. He knows he wants his guys to get it because they've worked hard for him. They've sacrificed for him. That's building organizational culture that guys want to come to New Orleans. Hey, man, I want to play in that organization. I want to play for Sean Payton. Good for them.
Absolutely. By the way, we'll have much more on the playoffs and what we see on what they're now calling Super Wild Card Weekend, whatever that means. We'll do something on the complete breakdown of the playoff matchups a little later on, a little tease for you as you're watching this video. But the number one seeds are set. It's Green Bay. It's Kansas City. Historically, recent history tells us that's your best bet to the Super Bowl because the last 7 Super Bowls have been competed with teams that have the bye, either a 1 or a 2 seed, and only the 1 seed gets that bye this year because of the 7th wildcard team. Do you feel good about that holding up? Because I got to tell you, Mark, I've been all in on Kansas City all season long, and I still think they're going to do what the Patriots last did and you did when you played, repeat as Super Bowl champs. But my God, Buffalo over the last 3 weeks has scored 142 points. And I want to be clear, a couple of those games, whatever, okay? The game that you called against the Broncos when they didn't have anybody, you can look at that one a million different ways.
Right.
The next week, again, I wouldn't say it was the highest level of caliber opponent, but they were playing a Miami team that had everything to play for with a really good defense and wanted to win and get in. That was their scenario, to win and get in. And they put up a 50 burger, and most of that came in the second half with their backup quarterback. Buffalo is doing exactly what you would want your favorite team to do heading into the postseason. They are playing their best football right now. How sold are you on Buffalo?
Incredibly sold. I have this kind of vision of what Buffalo was. When you call games, when you do what I do, for Fox, I'm so myopic in what I'm doing that week, right? So I get together on Monday and I watch 4 games, the condensed copies, just so I hear the play-by-play, so I hear the voices, I know the names of the players, right? And just kind of get a sense of what happened during that game. Then I get into the cut-ups and I go at the last game and I'll break down like every play on offense, 1st down and 10. They were in trips right nasty, and they ran this concept, whatever it was. They ran this, they ran weak side power. They ran, counter. They ran, wide zone, whatever it is. Or they ran a flood route to the strong side, the passing side of the formation, whatever it is. And so I go through every play like that. It takes me about 3.5 hours to break down the offense and about 3.5 hours to break down the defense. I break it down that way. Then I go their last 3 weeks. Give me the explosive plays for the explosive plays against. Give me the third downs for the third downs against. What do they play in third down situations? 3rd and 6 plus. What were they playing on defense? Were they playing man? Were they playing zone? How do they approach it, right? All these different things. So I have this whole kind of catalog of what teams are. So I go into Buffalo thinking, hey, Buffalo, I remember watching, a young Josh Allen come in. They had a lot of quarterback design runs. They spread them out. Yeah. They're running options in the middle to Cole Beasley. They're running whatever the route is that Stephon Diggs wants to run. You run it, I'll get it to you type of thing. It's a very almost 80s offense. Like, hey, just get open. I'll throw you the football. And one of the things that Brian Dable said to me, the offense coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, that really resonated with me is, he goes, you don't have to run it all the time, but you have to be good running the ball in critical times.
Yeah.
When everybody in the stadium knows you're going to run it, the defense knows you're going to run it, you have to be able to run it. And you have to be able to throw it when everybody in the stadium knows you're going to throw it, when the defense knows you're going to throw it. He goes, that's how you know you're a good running team. That's how you know you're a good passing team. And I'll go back to I think it was the game before I called the one in Denver. I think they played, did they play Pittsburgh, I believe?
Yeah, and that was a big game.
Yeah, they threw it all over the yard. The last 7 minutes, Trey, they got a 4-minute offense the last 7 minutes, and they converted like 5 or 6 first downs in a row and ran out the clock. And all they did was run the ball. They lined up, and they just thunder punched Pittsburgh right in the teeth. I mean, just bam, 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 all the way down the football field, ran out the clock. That's impressive to me. That's a damn good football team.
Yeah, by the way, the other game I forgot was the Monday night game where they tap danced the Patriots in Foxborough. I think they put 38 up on Bill Belichick's defense in that one.
Yeah.
So, again, those were some of the interesting things that we saw week 17. We'll have a full breakdown of the playoffs, super wild card weekend, a little bit later on in the week. But listen, we want to do something else. We want to do another video about the other thing that's going to be happening now, which is the coaching carousel. So if you're watching this one, thanks for watching this one. We're going to do another one right after this. So, hey, goodbye, but not really.